The Fifth Amendment. Hey, most of us have heard about the Fifth Amendment. We see it in movies all the time, people taking the Fifth Amendment. Basically, the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution provides that someone need not testify against themselves in a criminal proceedings. But what about documents? What about papers that this person has put together, or computer entries that this person has put together? Are those protected under the Fifth Amendment? Well, that takes us to this week's case. It involves a real man, a fellow that was being accused of criminal violation of the IRS regulation. On his tax returns, said that he was evading taxes. And man who lived in California took the documents that he had used in the preparation of his taxes and gave them to his attorney. IRS was aware of this. They'd found out about this. And so they brought a summons served on the attorney that said, please provide us with these documents. They are required for this criminal investigation. The attorney said, no, 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 not going to provide you with those documents, and I am going to, on behalf of my client, plead the Fifth Amendment because I find that these documents would implicate him in criminal conduct. IRS said, wait a second, Fifth Amendment doesn't apply to documents. Attorney said, well, it does if the documents will implicate somebody in criminal activity. IRS said, no, 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 there are exceptions to that. Well, anyway, the case goes up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And there, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals sorted out the arguments and basically found this. They said, IRS, you're right with regard to the Fifth Amendment generally doesn't apply to documents. Attorney, you're right with regard to the fact that if the documents, if they are produced, if they would implicate the guy being charged with a crime, then in fact you can claim the Fifth Amendment. Now, how would they implicate the person who's accused of a crime? Well, if only he would know where the documents were held, such as, let's say, there were computer documents that were held in an encrypted computer, well, he's the only guy that knows where they are and how to get to them. So if he goes and gets them, well, then we know he is the guy that created them, and we know that he probably was involved in this criminal activity that's indicated in the documents. But if, the court went on to say, it is known where the documents are, generally what's in those documents, and who put them then it's a foregone conclusion that the person who did that has engaged in some criminal activity. In this instance, the IRS has demonstrated it generally knew what was in those documents, it knew where they were in the hands of the attorney, and it knew who put them there, the guy who's being accused of the crime. Therefore, we find that this exception, the foregone conclusion, applies, and the documents can be used in the IRS prosecution. Okay. So, what did we learn from this case? What did we learn from this case? A couple of things. One, we learned Fifth Amendment generally only applies to testimony, not to documents. Two, it can apply to documents if those documents would be produced by someone who producing them would basically implicate themselves in criminal conduct. Three, we find that there is an exception to that application of the Fifth Amendment to documents if it's a foregone conclusion that we know who put them wherever they are, we know what's in them, and we know where they are. Okay. So we bring you this case. We bring you this case, which again demonstrates the nature of the Fifth Amendment, a little broader, a little more unique than some people realized, so that in fact you understand how the law works. We do this every week. I'm David Allen.